So yeah, this is how it comes on a hank. Well, the colour in this room is terrible. So I've cut them down to lengths like so. And I've tied a rubber round around the top of that one already. Excuse the noise. The two boys are out there making a ruckus. Anyway, let's park this somewhere where hopefully you can see what I'm doing. And we'll see how we go. I have got, best if you got one of these, plastic comb. Bugger off! With a thick... Fuck, no! I need a big red light out there that says on air. So yeah, plastic comb with the handle. Don't use one of those little, metal handle, because you'll need this for reaming stuff out in a bit. Little crochet hook. And for actually doing the interlocking, because I do the interlock method, I prefer a slightly bigger hook. So I got my hank of hair, and I already did a couple of things, but just to start it off, I just give it a twist and rip method. You can Google that, it's all over the internet, twist and rip. You don't want too big a loop, but seeing as you're going to be interlocking it and weaving it in and out with your crochet hook in a bit, it's not going to really matter. Just your standard back combing method. And I like to just twist and go along like so. And twist it the other way and go along. And each time you go, it just gets denser and denser. Once you've got a good bit started, you want it nice and tight up at the top here. One time I actually made my own little dread making bracket. It was a lovely little wooden stand. It lasted me for about 6 years, and then some big-footed bugger came in and stepped on it and broke it. So, yeah. Now, the trick is, for those of you that have never done anything like this before, you sometimes hear about people complaining when they've got dreads that they're so heavy when they get wet. Like when you wash them or go out in a thunderstorm or whatever. Half of the problem is the dreads aren't dense enough. If you get your dreads dense enough, the water can't soak into the core. I mean, think of an old-fashioned woolen coat. They were woven so densely that the water would just run off them. Well, that's sort of what you want to do with your dreads. Get them as dense as you can without being, still being able to work with them. So you just keep working it and working it and working it. You want it nice and tight at the top. I've got this big ass cardigan on and I'm boiling. Oh. Now, I know I'm nattering away while I'm doing this, but when I actually edit this and put it all together for you, you won't have to hear me waffling. I'll put some suitably good background music on so you can stick it on at double speed, or just listen to my wonderful calming music that's suitable for a 54-year-old. Yeah, right. You'll either end up with a bit of Memo or Arch Enemy. There's nothing like a nice bit of death metal to get you going. Now, I don't get paid for this, but I want to mention my lovely lady that always looks after my dreads and will be doing mine from the scratch, Sondra, at Lock and Twists in Brampton. So if you're in Ontario, Brampton, and you need some locks looking after, you can't beat the crew at Lock and Twists. They've also got a wonderful barber in there called Al, who does all that fancy smanchy head shaving design stuff. If I can figure out how to do it on YouTube, I'll put a link for you. A wonderful bunch of people up there, and lovely group of ladies. I've always been taking after me and my hair, all for years now. Years and years, and they know their stuff. Because even though I can do dreads myself, it's really, really hard to do your own dread maintenance on the back of your head when you've got buggered shoulders. I'll probably edit this bit out to speed things up. But I'm almost there. Keep running your hands down to pull the fibres down and to feel if it's dense enough. You still need to leave it just loose enough that you can get your hook through, because you're going to be pulling the end of the dread through itself in a minute, which is always problematic, especially when you've got arthritis and your fingers don't want to cooperate. But there you go. Now, I'm not going to work because of doing this. I'm not going to worry too much of going right down, making sure right down so the bottom is dense, because as you do your interlocking, it tends to loosen up anyway, and halfway through you end up having to do a little bit more back combing. Now, just to push some of the fibres back in again, I give them just a little bit of a palm roll. Now, depending on the kind of dread look you want, some people just want that fuzzy wuzzy look. But me, I find they're a lot more stable and less likely to come apart if you do the interlocking, and it makes them much stiffer and denser. And they are a bit stiff when you first wear them, but after you've worn them for a little while and washed them a few times, they do loosen up. So I go to my crochet hook, my little one, just to start me off a hole, and I'm pushing the fibre up towards the top just to make myself a slightly bigger hole. This is where your big chunky handle comes in, and again I'm using the handle to help push upwards. I know it's a bit of switching and changing, but you'll need the hook for this one. Now you want the end of your tail over the hook and pull it through the hole you just made, because everything is being pulled through. Sometimes it's a little bit of a shit. Just give it a little wiggle. Don't worry too much about any fuzzy wuzzy bits, because you can pull all them in later with your crochet hook. Now that one went through that way, so now you want to go across it. So you can see, I hope you can see it on this camera, that's where you came through, so you want to go sideways to that. So you get your hook again, nice and close, sideways, and again push upwards slightly. It helps tighten all the knots up. And that's basically all you're doing, is you're putting knots in all the way down. Give it a good ream. And again, you're using the hook to pull your tail through and pull it tight so it all goes through. Give it a little wiggle, make sure it's seated in. And you just keep doing that until you go all the way down. I'm just going to let my video run in, only because I can't be asked to stand over there and fiddle with it. And if you're a little bit more nimble fingered than me, you'll probably end up being able to do it twice as fast. And that's all you do. You keep going sideways to the one you've just done. Push up, nice and tight, ream it out. Hook it through. One's being a bit of a bugger. And I have no idea why, but whenever I decide to start talking on a bloody video, for some reason I sound like I've got a slight Yorkshire accent. Fuck knows why, because I'm a Londoner. Why is that? I don't even hang around with Yorkshire people. As soon as I moved to Canada, I used to get all these Canadians bombarding me with, "Oh, I suppose you love Coronation Street." No, I flipping hate Coronation Street. I came to Canada hoping I'd get away from all those stupid soaps. Emmerdale, Coronation Street, EastEnders, Brookside. No bollocks to that. I'd rather watch Star Trek Voyager and Farscape. And I always wanted to have a go at doing these YouTube things for some of the stuff that I do. And it seems every time I do one, either my husband or my stepson suddenly feels the need for that exact moment to come in and ask me something. Now you can take your time a little more and get them to the exact denseness and thickness that you want. This one I don't think I did quite enough because it's gone a little thin for my liking. Yeah, I've hit a bit of a thin patch here, but never mind. I don't like them all too uniform anyway. Right, I've got down just over halfway, and I notice it is going a little thin, so I'm going to give it another bit of a back comb treatment. And you can even push your knots up a little bit when you're doing this, especially that bottom one. Oh, that's a little better. Oops. There we go. Right, my end bits are being a little bit non-cooperative. A little bit of extra crochet help. Now, I personally like the long tail. There are other ways of doing it where you go down as far as you can with the interlocking. And then you basically, or how I used to do it, was you put your crochet hook down lengthways, grab your thin bit of tail and pull it up through the core. That way you end up with like a little stump end like that. I used to do them like that years ago, but I actually prefer the look of the little swishy tail on them. So that's how I'll leave that one. As you can see, there's lots of little fuzzy wuzzies, but you just basically get your little hook and pull through your ends. Now you can get a little tool that's like a mini rug hook. Some people prefer to use that for pulling in odd little ends like that. I tried it, but it never worked out for me. So I'm a crocheter anyway, so it's easier for me just to use the crochet hook. And once you get the knack, it's quite easy. And you just pull the worst of them through. But like I say, once you've worn them and washed them a few times, a lot of the little fuzzy wuzzies tend to work their own way back in. You get the odd little one that unravels, that comes out with wear. And some people just get the scissors and trim them off. And that's another way you can just deal with them, is just get a pair of scissors and give them a little bit of a haircut. If you go up at a bit of an angle, like I say, you like this one, I've got quite a long piece here, so I can go upwards through like that. And that way you're pulling it down and you're pulling it down into the core of the dread. I'll call this one finished. Just give it a little bit of a rub and let the fibres lay down. Take it off the hook. Now, because it was actually part of a weave, and the way I want to use them, all I've got to do is get this stupid elastic band off, if it ever wants to cooperate with me. There. Stupid fingers. There we go. And see, I've got my little weave edge up there, which I'm just going to snip off down here a minute, or providing I don't break something in the process. It's the first time I've ever used human hair to make my dreads. I always used to use the synthetic. And they are great. I mean, I've had some that have lasted years, but they can still degrade. I've had some that sort of like just go a bit powdery and disintegrate. But I still have a couple of them kicking around here somewhere. Okay, so there's my fuzzy end. As you can see, it's a little bit short and stumpy, but you'll know when you do the original first pass, making that first knot, that top one tends to be a little loose anyway. And because I want some multi-length fibres when I eventually stick it in the end of my own dreads, I just comb out the top and just catch that top knot, so that I end up with a few longer bits of hair. Makes it easier when I weave the two ends together. But like I say, there's already lots and lots of YouTubes out there that show you how to make your own dreads, or your own synthetic dreads made out of, you know, the Canacanon, or the wool roving is another very popular one, especially with the people that like their like hippie festival type things. and they will all show you mostly how to do the single and double ended versions, but I like to make them how they make them on your head, and that's how Sandra does mine when she will do my actual real hair dreads. And they last, the way they're knotted up, and they don't always stay looking quite that knotty. I haven't got one I can show you right now, but maybe in the next video. But now I've got the nice multi-length end to make it easier to weave into my own hair. And a nice little pink dread. Oh well, that's enough of my waffle. Go about your business, have a cup of tea. I'll see you next time.